What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Senator of Chaos and Controversy, and I want to take a break from talking about what's trending in regards to what you may see on the news or these social media outlets, as far as what's being highlighted, um, or what's the main you know big thing to want to address, but something rather more important. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because where I'm staying at right now is pretty much toxic. And believe me, this is only a temporary situation for me. Um, However, I do live with my friend who is lesbian, and which is kind of ironic, because when you talk about the issues or the topics or the you know uh, highly debatable um, discussion of the LGBTQ community, as far as like the transgender issue, or just relationships that surround the gay community as a whole. Um, my friend has a partner who is going through the transition of being, a female to a man or whatever. Um, but I'm not really focused on the subject of that. Basically, it's about the toxic nature of their relationship, and where it has gotten to the point where it is physical and abusive. Now, many of arguments, when I've heard people, females especially, for the most part, talk about why they don't no longer find themselves in a straight relationship, or decided to say, I don't mess with men anymore. And these are the reasons: because either because they don't know how to remain faithful, they're no good, they're abusive, whether it's physical, mental, or verbal. Um, it's all those reasons that they throw on the table for the justifications to say, hey, this is why I no longer mess with this gender. Okay? And I said, I'm not being dismissive, I'm not being insensitive, I'm not even being, you know, but to simplify it, regardless if you're a man with a woman, woman with a man, man with a man, woman with a woman, you're going to deal with things despite your sexual orientation. If you're involved with people in general, involved with that person, because this is what they say, I want people to see me as the person, not because of this or not because of that. Well, okay, let's go that route. I'm seeing you as a person. It doesn't exempt you from being in a toxic relationship, regardless if it's straight or not. If you're with a person who's the aggressor, and you're the person that's pretty much subjected to being submissive, wrong is wrong. Um, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it because I myself, at one point, was the aggressor. Not so much as I initiated being the aggressor, as me responding to what I was subjected to, as far as being cheated on, how I felt, being disrespected, you know. But when I had a daughter, and this is the thing, I'm gonna be a little more detailed and the examples so I can paint the picture so it can be understood. My daughter's mother and I, we had our attraction. I was attracted to her, or whatever the case may be, and I ended up hooking up with her. And obviously, at some point, we ended up having a daughter. Um, but the relationship wasn't always on the up and up. Um, I would work a lot because that was my thing. I'd work. I worked many jobs. Um, I had one full-time job and a part-time job and a side hustle, being a bouncer at one of these little clubs in New London, Connecticut. Um, and that was on the weekends. But my addiction was money. I couldn't be without money. I had to have money, and jobs. Just one job alone wasn't doing it. Because I had um, a particular lifestyle that I was accustomed to, and so that meant I wasn't always home as much. Well, my daughter's mother also worked, but the thing is, she strayed outside the relationship. Um, she was very disrespectful because she was one of those people that entertain drama, always on the phone, always gossiping about this, that, and the other. Um, but it got to a point where I got tired of her calling me the N word. Got tired of her talking shit about my mom. Even if I didn't have a good relationship with my mom, or I felt some kind of way about my mom, it's nobody else's place to be disrespectful to my mom. Even myself, is not my place to be disrespectful to my mom. I can have an opinion, and that's as far as it goes. I conduct myself accordingly. I never disrespected her parents. I never called them out their names. Even in their presence, I was always, yes sir, yes ma'am. Polite. I was raised to respect my elders, even if I didn't like them. Okay? But this girl would sit there on the phone gossiping to her friends or her mom, or whatever, talking about my mom wasn't this, my mom wasn't that, she ain't no kind of effing grandmother, da da da. And then she would call me the N word, and then she would spit in my face. And we would argue. And I would spend more times away from the house, which was messed up when it came to me spending time with my daughter, because the environment was toxic. And I remember one day we was arguing, and she spit in my face and called me a nigger. And I remember I I pushed her up against the wall, took her phone, threw it, and at that time I think I ordered Domino's or whatever, and I took the soda and I shook it up and I let it fly open, and I sprayed her all over with the soda and stuff. And I told her to get the fuck out of my fucking house. And I remember it was snowing because she ran down the stairs in her bare feet with no socks on. And it was cold. Of course, the cops came and everything. And of course, I got arrested to get, to cool off or whatever the case may be. But no charges were filed. But then when it was all said and done, I remember in the midst of us arguing, I'm looking down and my daughter's like right there. My daughter is like right there witnessing this shit. The toxic environment that my kid was in. And it wasn't the fact that I got arrested. It was more like, for me to calm down or whatever. When I got out, whatever, I told her, I said, I can't do this no more. Because number one, I don't want my daughter growing up thinking that this is okay, that this is acceptable. Never mind what the hell flies out your mouth to piss me off and me responding in the way that I do. I don't want her thinking, number one, that she can have the type of mouth that her mother has and just go about being disrespectful to anybody. Number two, I don't want her to think that it's acceptable for a man to put their hands on her. Now, I know that was me talking from my point of view as a father. Okay? Now I'm going to get to another story that's adjacent to this one. Now, I know many people believe, because what is more common, so to speak, is when you hear of these domestic cases, there's always a man on a woman or whatever the case may be. But now, since you got these relationships, it isn't just the man. It's the women that are aggressive. Especially if it comes down to relationships where, there's a woman with another woman. One is always the aggressor. It's not cool. It is not cool. And I had to check myself. I had to take courses, because 9 times out of 10, when you got somebody who cannot control their emotions or their anger or their temper, there's some underlying issues that have yet to be resolved. And sometimes it takes a person to acknowledge that, realize and understand, hey, this might affect me later down the line if I don't get this situation checked. If I don't talk to somebody about this, if I don't have an outlet, to channel my emotions, my anger. Because this might lead to me compromising my freedom. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, I don't know, they stay in these toxic relationships. And for the most part, you either have situations where the jealousy or the rage or the distrust, or the controlling aspect. Because for what I've noticed, there's a lot of issues that revolve around the controlling factor. There's always somebody that's always trying to control their partner, where they go, who they hang out with, whether they can have a job or not, how they should talk. And no, that's not acceptable. But moving beyond, when my daughter's mother and I separated, she ended up getting involved in a very toxic relationship. Very toxic relationship. Wasn't good. Now, I remember I was working with this guy doing landscaping and seal coat and asphalt. Independent contractor. And but at night I'd work at McDonald's, because I had to pay child support, because when I was working with this guy, he paid me off the books. There was no money trail. So I needed something on paper to show, hey, you know what? Boom. So that was the reason why I worked, at McDonald's, for the child support for that at that time. So I was making good money on the side hustle, but for the records, that's the purpose of me working at McDonald's, But I remember a person came in, served me a vanilla envelope, and it was a summons for me to go to court. And I'm reading through the details, and it had stated that the person who my daughter's mother was involved with put his hands on my daughter and was beating her. Okay, so any parent at this point, when you hear that somebody done did something to their kids, you almost automatically, immediately start to lose your shit. You know, that rage just takes over. And you're like, oh, okay, this is what's going on? Fine. All right. So I call my father up. He comes down. I show him the packet. And he's looking over the details. And they said there was a court date that I had to be present for. And I get there, and they were talking about child endangerment and how they want to, because she also had a son at the time before she had a third child, and that father was present, and they were talking about removing the kids from the home. And for me personally, I was all for it, but at the time I was looking at it through this perspective. Because you make a stupid decision on who the fuck you decide to be with, who is no good for you, but you're with them for whatever reason, or her for whatever reason, whether it's for financial purposes or what have you, or because, you know, sexually, you know, they're very satisfying, but outside of that element, they ain't nothing more than just a fuck. But whatever. It's neither here or there. But I pleaded in favor of my daughter's mom because I said, you know what, she is a mom first. And because she made a poor decision on who she decided to be with, and she's a victim herself, I don't think that by taking the kids from her, that to punish her based on someone else's action was fair. So basically, they made a motion for her, and they had to go to classes and counseling or whatever. So at this particular point, I was very much interested in her neighbor. And her neighbor lived directly next door to her. So I ended up hooking up with her neighbor and moving in. So I could basically monitor what was going on with my daughter. Okay? So, with that being said, time elapsed. Me and him wasn't really getting along, vibing, or whatever the case may be. And he tried me a few times until it came up to this final moment. He was being disrespectful. He kept calling, harassing her. I kept taking the phone, kept calling my daughter's mom, harassing her, while he's out there getting high, getting fucked up, entertaining other bitches or what have you. And, you know, karma's a motherfucker, so to speak. You know, shit comes full circle. That's why I humble myself, because I really believe in that shit. I believe in karma, and I believe that you need to remain humble. And we ended up, I guess she was looking for him for some reason, but we didn't allow her to go by herself. It was me, the man who she's married to now, and his cousins or whatever. And we all got in the car and we ended up driving. Couldn't find her, whatever. So we get back to the house, and because I kept hanging the phone up in his face, he ended up showing up with a crowbar. And at the time, I remember, I'm going to say his name was Jay. He was cooking pork chops and chicken on one of those flat top electric stoves. And how it was set up, and this took place in Willimantic, Connecticut. He come through the back, and the back door's connected to the kitchen. And I'm sitting in the living room with my girl at the time watching TV. He comes in talking about looking at her, I'll bust you upside your motherfucking head. And they said, where the fuck is Tony at? I stood up, I said, I'm right here, what's up? So he comes with the crowbar, and he's like this. Jay's behind him. He takes the crowbar, and I'm bow, 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 bow. Knocked him. So he's like, okay, I can't fight this dude head up. So he goes to take the grease, because Jay had took the pork chops and the chicken out the pan, and he went to go fucking throw the grease up on me. I kicked his ass. That grease went flying back. Fucking got him all on his face, his arm, his neck. and on my foot, the grease that got on me. So that shit, like my skin sticking to my sock, it's burning and shit. Now, a kitchen fire started because of the fucking grease. So that kind of pretty much the best way I can describe it. So people can get what the scene looked like. If anybody seen Freddy vs. Jason when they was in that fire, that's basically what the kitchen looked like. The scene from Freddy vs. Jason. And I remember I'm sitting there still whopping on him. Jay, he's sitting there fucking, hey, you need help taking the jewelry off of him, took the money out of his wallet and shit like that, whatever. Jay's another situation. But what have you. But anyway, and I remember I was like running and I slid on the grease. I'm sliding, I'm like, and then I just fucking did that. This is Sparta. Boom, kicked him. He went flying out the back door. Now, by this time, the fire department shows up, Willimantic PD shows up, and I'm chasing after them. Then all of a sudden, I remember I had this hand come, boom, and it jerked me back. I'm like, who the? I almost hit the cop, and he was like, Tony. I was like, yeah. He's like, stay right here. He goes, where did he go? Where did James go? That was my daughter's mom's boyfriend's name at the time, James. And I said he went down the hill. So you had like 6, 7 officers running after him. He was hiding in the bushes. They was like, James, come out with your hands up. And all I saw was them tasering him, and his feet go flying up. He's sitting there stopped. Now I know he's still hurting because he got the grease still fucking peeling his skin off and everything. And I could just imagine the pain he was going through because the little grease they got on my leg was fucking. So that my daughter's mother's uncle, who was the captain at the time, who I kind of had issues with. Well, this is the only time we were on the same page with this. And he said to me, he said, Tony, you got 1 or 2 options. He said, you can get arrested with him. And I'm looking at him like, you serious right now? Like, are you really serious? I like to see how that's going to go down. Boy, have y'all let him continue to talk. He said, or you can file a complaint because we've been wanting to get this motherfucker for a long time. So I wrote a statement, whatever, and I ended up having to go to the hospital. I see them wheeling him in on the gurney, handcuffed to the fucking stretcher and shit. And I'm getting treated for my little burns and stuff, and had the antibiotic ointment and what have you that they gave me and prescribed to me. And yeah, but all that rage that I have just thinking about when he put his hands on my daughter, and when he would like literally beat up my daughter's mom, like this was like fist fights, busting her eye, breaking her tailbone, dislocating her shoulder and stuff. I mean, this dude was really abusive. Then I told her, I said, I didn't want my daughter around in that city. I can't tell you who the hell you could be with. So I said, in any case, I was going to take my daughter. But that didn't happen because obviously she broke up with him after that situation. That was the final straw. And she moved on. Not to say that the situation was any better, but whatever. And I had left. I had moved to Texas at this time. But that was that story for that. But the point is, sometimes we get involved in these relationships with other people for whatever reason, and for the most part, it not only like how that other person treats you, it not only affects you, but it also affects your kids. And what I hear a lot is when I'm around other people, and I tell them, I said, look, there was a point in time where I wasn't that great of a person, even though I was younger and I didn't know how to, keep my emotions in check. But I found a way. I found a way. And if I felt that I was involved in a relationship that maybe was going to reflect on the past experiences I had with anyone else, I'm sorry, this isn't working. I gotta leave, because I know this might lead to something that might put me in a compromising position, and I don't want to be in that compromising position. So I do what I normally do, and I walk. Many people do the opposite. They want to stay. They want to like try to work it out, or they say, "No, this person's going to change." A person's not going to change unless they want to change, unless they really value the person, who they've harmed or hurt. They're not going to change because they're not looking at themselves. They're always looking at what the other person is doing, for the reason why they're treating that other person in whatever manner that they're doing it, which isn't acceptable. And that's something that I was trying to translate to my friend. I'm like, look, your anger and all of that, and how you conduct yourself whenever you're dealing with your partner, and however you feel justified, and how you approach the situation, isn't good. Because even if you feel validated in your emotions and how you feel, how you respond and how you react pretty much dictates the outcome of the end result. And from my experience and what I've seen others go through, if you go in fully charged into a situation and you can't conduct yourself in a manner that has some restraint to it, and you fly off at the handle, and it ends up being a physical altercation where somebody ends up getting hurt, seriously getting hurt, who you think is going to jail? And who you think is going to be out here free, moving on for the most part, basically, and living their life, and you're sitting in jail feeling stupid? It's not worth it. If you know that you yourself as a person has an issue with have anger issues, you need to get help, and you need to pretty much distance yourself from any kind of relationships whatsoever until you know you can conduct yourself in a fashion where you ain't a harm or an endangerment to others, jeopardizing your freedom. See, and a lot of people don't want to do that. They jump from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship to another relationship, not giving themselves time. For self-examination, to improve on their character, to mature, to get help. To be a better person. To possibly be an advocate for other people, whether they are the abuser or the abused. To be a counselor to people in these toxic relationships. But anyway, that's what I really want to share with you guys today. I wanted to get off the whole what's trending now train, and share some of my personal experiences and talk about something that not many are talking about, but people are dealing with. And I say this, at the height of the pandemic, you know, when people were quarantined and stuff, a lot of relationships fell by the wayside. Um, People abusing drugs and alcohol, um, and just losing their shit, so to speak. When and for the most part, some people need time away from each other. So when they come and reconnect, they're more appreciative of one another. But then when you have people just constantly around each other, 24/7 and stuff like that, and you were used to a particular way of living, you was on a particular schedule, so to speak. Now all of a sudden this pandemic hit, and then all these ordinances started to come into play to tell you, hey, this is what you can and cannot do, whatever, whatever, whatever. And it kind of drove people to the brink of fucking insanity. For the most part, the stability of this country isn't, you know, there's more instability than there is stability when it comes to people's um, position mentally, emotionally, financially. So, yeah. But anyway, that's all I got. I want to do a story, but I don't know all the details because a situation took place um, at the fireworks where there was an active shooter, and they ended up catching him. But from the statement that this individual gave, it was more than just this person that was out there, and I don't think no one got hurt, but that was what was going on. But anyway, until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe. It's gonna be a hot one out here. Anyway, please be safe. Please be respectful of one another. And yeah. Peace.